Yes, students, in this video we will talk about the factories come up in India. The first cotton mill in Bombay came up in 1854 and it went into the production 2 years later. And by 1862, four mills were at work with 94,000 spindles and 2,150 looms. So around the same time, jute mills came up in Bengal, and the first being set up in 1855, and another one 7 years later in 1862. So in North India, the Elgin mill was also started in Kanpur in the 1860, and a year later, the first cotton mill of Ahmedabad was set up. And by 1874, the first spinning and weaving mill of Madras began production. And now we are having a question: who set up all these industries? Where did the capital come from? And who came to work in the mills? Having earned through trade, some of these business had visions of developing industrial enterprise in India. In Bengal, Dwarkanath Tagore made his fortune trade before he turned to industrial investment, setting up six joint stock companies in 1830 and 1840. Tagore's enterprise sank along with those of others in the wider business crisis of 1840. But later in the 19th century, many of the China traders became successful industrialists. In Bombay, there are other industrialists also, like Dinsha Petit and Jamsetji Nusarwanji Tata, who built huge industrial empires in India, accumulated their initial wealth partly from export to China and partly from raw cotton shipments to England. Seth Hukum Chand and a Marwadi businessman who set up the first Indian jute mill in Calcutta in 1917 also traded with China. So did the father as well as grandfather of the famous industrialist G.D. Birla. In this picture, students, you can see our partners in enterprises J.N. Tata, R.D. Tata, Sir R.J. Tata and Sir D.J. Tata. In 1912, J.N. Tata, who set up the first iron and steel works in India at Jamshedpur, and iron and steel industries in India started much later than textile. In colonies India, industrial machinery always locomotives were mostly imported, so capital goods industries could not really develop in any significant way till independence. Students, now we are having a question that where did the workers come from? So we know that the factories needed workers. With the expansion of factories, this demand increased, and in 1901 there were 584,000 workers in Indian factories. By 1946, this number was increased. And where did the workers come from? We are having a question now. So in most industrial region, workers came from the districts around. Peasants and artisans who found no work in the village went to the industrial centers in search of work. Over 50% workers in the Bombay cotton industries in 1911 came from the neighboring districts of Ratnagiri, and while the mills of Kanpur got most of their textile hands from the villages within districts of Kanpur. So most often mill workers moved between the village and the city, returning to their village homes during harvest and festivals. Over a time, as news of employment spread, workers traveled great distances in the hope of work in the mills. From the United Provinces, for instance, they went to the work in the textile mills of Bombay and in the jute mills of Calcutta. So getting job was also very difficult over there. Even when mills multiplied and the demand for workers increased, the number seeking work were always more than the jobs available. So entry into the mills was also restricted. In this situation, what happened over there? Industrialists usually employed a jobber to get new recruits. Very often the jobber was an old and trusted worker. You can see in the picture. He got people from his village and showed them jobs, helped them settle in the city, and provided them money in the times of crisis. The jobber therefore became a person with some authority and power. He began demanding money and gifts for his favor and controlling the lives of workers. The number of factory workers increased over time, and however, as you will see, they were a small proportion of the total industrial workforce. So you can see here how the jobbers also exploiting the workers for their own selfish needs. We talk about the peculiarities of industrial growth. We can see in the picture, till the First World War, industrial growth was very slow, and the war created a dramatically new situation with British mills busy with war production to meet the needs of the army, Manchester, imports into India. So suddenly Indian mills had a vast home market to supply. As the war prolonged, Indian factories were called upon to the supply war needs. Jute bags, cloth for army uniforms, tents and leather boots, horses and mule saddles also. And the new factories were set up, and old ones ran multiply shifts. Many new workers were employed, and everyone was made to work longer hours. Over the war years, industrial production boomed. This map, you can see the large scale industries in India located, and in 1931 the circles indicated the size of industries in the different regions here.